That's fantastic. So we sent them off to school. They got a nice big breakfast, right? They went to school, they learned, they played, they came back home. They got a nice snack with the little yogurt bar.
Yeah.
And now, of course, homework's done and it's time for dinner. And moms, dads, they are frantic. They got all kinds of things going on. What do you got for them?
Yes. Well, I'm going to make a delicious casserole, and if you will just take a quick break and let me clean this up a little bit, I want to pull all those things over here so that we can have a good view of it all. So I'm going to show you a wonderful, easy casserole when we come back.
We'll look forward to that when we come back in a minute. So there you go. Mama Steph's in the studio right now, and of course we've seen some great back-to-school ideas already. A nice, really protein-packed breakfast to get you fueled and ready to go for the day. A nice after-school snack. Again, not overly sugary, not overly sweet. Get the kids bouncing off the walls. It's dense, it's nutrient rich. It's got the fruit, it's got the yogurt, a few chocolate chips for some pizzazz, but also just a nice overall healthy snack. That's the theme of the day, it seems like, protein packed and healthy. So we'll take a very quick break here on the show. When we come back, though, we're going to have Mama Steph showing us how to make her dinner idea, and of course that's going to be the theme because you got the evenings are going to be completely full of all kinds of things going on. You got homeworks, you got practices going on, and a lot of things kind of take up the time that you've had all summer long that you don't have anymore. So as we wait for Mama Steph to kind of get her next recipe ready, we've got one more like a throwback recipe for you here from the kitchen app that kind of follows the same sort of idea that you're busy, a lot of things going on. Here is a quick dinner in 10 recipe from Mama Steph. This is, I believe, her grilled tilapia. We're going to show you how to make it here as a kind of a throwback recipe here before we get to the new stuff on the live kitchen special. Give me just a moment. Let's learn how to make Mama Steph's blackened tilapia with rice and red beans here as part of her throwback recipes from the kitchen app right now. Let's take a look.
Hey friends, welcome back to East Texas Kitchen. I am Mama Steph and I'm here to give you a quick dinner idea. Some blackened tilapia with easy red beans and rice mixture. This is a dinner that you can really make in 10 or 15 minutes because we're using quick cooking fish and a couple of pre-prepared ingredients. And so those would be, you can use canned, pre-cooked and pre-seasoned Creole red beans, and this is a brand that I really do like. This is 8 dozen cousins. It's in a little envelope like this, and I also used some rice that came pre-cooked in this envelope, so this kind of envelope. So those save you some time, and that's great when the power is out or something of that nature. You can just open these kinds of things up and you don't have to cook them on a stovetop. Now with the fish that I'm going to make, this is tilapia, really inexpensive, really easy to cook. You could even do this on a grill with a cast iron skillet. So there you go. So now the way that I do this is I use my favorite Creole or Cajun seasoning. You can do the same. This is Tony Chachere's More Spice, but if you have, there's one called Slap Ya Mama, which don't slap your mama, but you can use the seasoning and put that on there or whatever kind you prefer. Paul Prudhomme's got one that's really good, and just sprinkle that all over one side of the boneless and skinless tilapia. Put it in the hot pan that you've already got a couple of tablespoons of oil in. I put olive oil in mine. And then do that again with this one. Now, the reason that I love doing this, as I said, tilapia is pretty inexpensive. This was about $7 for 2 pounds. Oh, I got a little extra one there. Let's get him off and put some seasoning on him. Now, there we go, how easy. If you had to thaw this, which this was frozen, so the way I thaw this was in a bowl of cold water. Don't leave it out on the counter or whatever. Put it in a bowl of cold water. It'll thaw very quickly, like within 10 or 15 minutes it's thawed, and then you can start cooking. So these are different sizes, as you can tell. I've got 2 tiny ones and then 1 bigger one. So what I do is I start by cooking it 3 minutes on the first side, and then For the bigger one, I'll go about 2.5 minutes on the second side, maybe 1.5 minutes on those smaller side, the smaller fish. So you just watch them. You want them to be kind of flaky and white in the center when you cut into them. So just keep an eye on them and don't undercook. Don't overcook either. You don't want them to be hard. So it's very, very simple and very flavorful. And for the rice and the beans, I just combine them in a stock pot here. And then once they came to a simmer, I had added a little bit of broth, and you can even use water. And then I added a teaspoon of my seasoning to that. Stir it in, taste it, make sure you've got enough seasoning in there. You can add a little more if you want to. And then what I do is, once it's nice and hot, once the fish is done, I put a mound of rice on the plate, and then I put the fish right on top, kind of fancy pretty, and I sprinkle a little of the seasoning around on the plate just for decoration. And there you go. That's dinner, ready in about 10 minutes. How can you resist that, right? So if that is something that you think you would like to try, it's on the app right now. Make sure you get it. Get the app.
So there you go. That's one of the hundreds of ideas inside the Kitchen app in every category of food, from breakfast to lunch, dinner, and more. And we're going to go back to the studio now. Mama Steph, how are things going with you in the kitchen?
I am all set to tell you how to make this beautiful casserole. I've already got one made so that you guys can sample it really soon. And you don't want to wait for an hour for this to bake, right? Or 45 minutes, actually. This is ready to go. So it is kind of a Tex-Mex pasta casserole, I guess we could call it. And it's, you know, I'm just kind of putting together ingredients that we love, that kids love, that are tasty and nutritious. And I've got some shortcuts here that I'll explain as we go through it. So what I did to start this was I boiled some pasta. My children always loved these are rotini pasta, the little spiral curly pasta noodles, right? That's rotini. And I'm going to put that into a nice big bowl there. It's already cooked. I cooked it earlier because I didn't want to bore y'all with watching water boil. I mean, how boring is that? You don't want to watch that. So it's already cooked. Okay, and so what we'll do now is we're going to build a casserole with these pasta noodles, okay? So I'm going to add a can of corn. We're going to go Tex-Mex, so we're going to do some corn and black beans and some salsa verde, and we're going to just have lots of wonderful flavors that we're adding in. I'm going to drain the corn first. I don't need all that juice, so I'm pouring it in the bowl here. I've got a bowl to do that with. And then pour in the corn. This is just your regular 15-ounce can of corn. You could also use a couple of cups of frozen corn. That would be totally fine. We're going to open these black beans. Whoever invented these pop tops on cans was a genius, I just have to say. I love them. Yeah, they're so nice. And so I'm going to drain some of that juice off. Maybe not all of it, but some of it. Like that. I like to keep, if I have, you know, like this is a taco fiesta, they call it, Bush's Sidekick. So it's a black bean that they've seasoned up. So I'll keep a little bit of the juice because it's pretty thick and it has a lot of flavor. So I kept a lot of that. Then I'm going to open a can of Rotel. Now we all love Rotel, right?
Yeah, we do.
We all have that in our cabinets at home. It makes great Rotel dip, Velveeta dip, or whatever you call it. So we usually have some on hand. And if you don't have that, you could just use 1.5 cups of salsa, nice chunky salsa that you might have on hand. It would work just as well, no problem. And then we're going to take some of this salsa verde, if I can open it. Oh gosh, let's see. We'll have to do the bang bang. Excuse me, I know that's loud. There we go. And then, okay, we're not going to use the salsa verde. And then this is the surprise ingredient. This is just Bertolli Alfredo sauce, and you can make homemade Alfredo sauce. It couldn't be easier, but if you want a shortcut, just go this route. This is, I think, a 16-ounce jar. So Alfredo sauce from scratch, I think I have a recipe online for that, but it's just, you know, it's Parmesan cheese and heavy cream and a little butter and some seasoning, and you just make a sauce with that. So you can do that and add it to this, or you can buy a good jar of it like so. It's not beautiful, but it's going to be really good in the casserole. And you know, a lot of times in our traditional casseroles, in the South at least, we always add cream of mushroom soup. We're not doing that with this one. We're using the Alfredo. I'm going to add a little 8-ounce can of sliced olives, just because I love black olives. There we go. And again, very customizable. You can make this however you want. Let me get that started there. I'm going to use half a package of taco seasoning. Some of you have your own blend that you might keep in a shaker at home. That'd be great in this. But if not, just grab some at the grocery store to sprinkle in like that. And so we're just extending the taco seasoning flavor into the pasta and the corn and the black beans and all that goodness. So just toss it around like that. It's so weird. I mean, this doesn't look gorgeous, but it sure looks flavorful, and it is very flavorful.
Yeah, it does. It looks amazing.
Let me try. I'm going to try banging this roasted salsa verde again. Sometimes you just have to give it a good bang, and then you can open it. Gosh, they really. Okay, I can't do it. If you see any boys come by, just send them to me, Jeremy, and tell them to come help Mama Steph.
I've learned previously is take a spoon and put it underneath the lid and kind of pry it till it pops.
Oh, and you know what? Maybe it has a thing on this. Well, I don't think it does. Yeah, let me try that with a spoon. You're smart, Jeremy. It might work.
I'll do what I can.
Let's see. I don't think I'm strong enough to do that. What is going on? You know what I'll do? We'll skip that. And I will reach into the fridge, and I have got some jalapeno peppers.
Ooh, yeah.
I was talking about substituting things. This is a good time to do that.
Rock and roll.
Because I can open these. They've already been opened. That is so funny. I don't even have, as the old folks call it, arthritis. I don't even have that. I couldn't open it, so it's just on there really, really well. So let's take this, and we'll take that spoon we just got, and we'll pull some jalapenos out. I don't mind pickled jalapenos at all in my stuff that I cook. I just love them. Now, depending on how hot you want to go, would be how many of these that you would want to put in your recipe. I'm just gonna, this is probably 3 tablespoons max when I finish chopping them. So if your family doesn't like any heat, you don't have to add them. It's really fine. But we're gonna put those in, and it's gonna pack a nice little punch when we bite into them. Just chop those up a little bit. Doesn't really have to be minced, just a rough chop is fine. And I'll add those. So there we go. I'll put those aside. And now to get our protein, you can use any kind of cooked chicken that you have. You could even use some cooked ground turkey or ground chicken or ground beef. You could use a fajita roasted rotisserie chicken, or just the traditional one that doesn't have like the lemon seasoning. I don't think the lemon would play very well with this, but the traditional flavor roasted rotisserie chickens are great, and they work in recipes like this so well. Or if you happen to have some leftover chicken from a different meal, you could shred that up and put it in there. Or you can add, you know, a couple of these bags of, this is chicken fajita meat, and from a factory right here in Tyler, right? A provider of food, John Souls Foods here in Tyler. They have made a lot of my meals super quick, and they don't sponsor me or anything. I'm just telling the truth. I just like their chicken fajita meat. It works really well in a lot of recipes, and on salads and stuff too. So it's handy dandy. But use whatever brand you can find, and maybe just chop that up because some of the pieces are pretty large. And I don't want a giant, you don't want to bite into some giant piece of it. You can have them cut into half, into little bite-sized pieces like that. There we go. So I used 2 of those little packages. We've got about 2 cups of meat here. So add that. There we go. Make sure everything gets evenly coated inside this. So we've got the flavors of the Alfredo, which is just a light flavor, but it's nice, gives us that nice creaminess. We've got the taco seasoning. We've got the flavored black beans. So, and now we've got the jalapenos and the chicken fajita meat. So we've got a lot of delicious flavors combining here. You could chop some onion up if you wanted to. You could add some chopped onion. Whatever you have, just think about, what have I got that I could add to this and make a little casserole out of it. It's so easy to do. And I don't know, I have always enjoyed casseroles. My husband does not love them, so I don't get to make them as much as I like to. So when we do a show like this, I can sneak one in and make it because it's fun. I don't know, something comforting about a casserole, I think. Don't you think? It's comfort food.
Oh yeah, plus, I mean, like it can feed a lot of people, or it can be like a high yield thing if you're making food for yourself, like a meal prep situation. Very versatile stuff and very easy to make, like whatever you're really thinking about, like all kinds of different categories, from Tex-Mex to seafood, what have you, just a lot of different options there.
Oh, absolutely. I agree. And something like this, I know we're not hugely fond of baking stuff right now because of the heat, but if you're waiting till the weekend and wait till it gets dark outside and bake it on Sunday night, and then you can eat from it during the week, you can just pull it out and heat up each portion individually in the microwave. And so then you've got several meals, because this would serve like at least 8 servings out of this, depending upon how hungry your people are. So 100%. So it's really easy to use and easy to do. So this is just a 9x13 dish that I'm using. It's got pumpkins in it just because I love these dishes so much that whenever I get to use them anywhere close to fall, I pull them out. I just love them. And so I'm going to spray that down with a little cooking spray just to keep the edges from getting stuck too much. I'll move that aside there. And then all of this goodness, and it just dawned on me too that some chorizo sausage would also be great in here as the meat. So whatever meat you use, just make sure it's pre-cooked, because you don't want to go in here with raw meat because it may not have time to cook all the way through the way we're doing this. So don't use raw meat in this. There we go.
Duly noted.
So we just slide that in there. And then we even it out like that. I just like the way this looks. I like that it has the olives in there to give me a little bit of that salty bite that they have. I love black olives. I don't know about you guys. But of course,
they're amazing.
Do you like them too? It's funny. I didn't start liking them until I was in my 40s, and I don't know why suddenly I decided I liked them. But before that, I would move them away from my pasta at a restaurant or whatever, like a kid. And then now I'm like, oh my goodness, they're delicious. So something changed, our tastes change as we get older. So so that's what happened, I suppose. And then we're going to take this is a 4-cheese Mexican blend, and I'm going to just take it and I'm going to sprinkle it all over the top. This is about 2 cups, I think. It's an 8-ounce package. Yes, 8-ounce package. So I'm going to put all of it on top like that, because when you cut into this when it's hot, You know, you love seeing that cheesiness, just stringy cheese come up with your serving. Something about that makes it look so appealing, right, when we're eating a casserole. So it's just all covered up like that. Now from this point, it's pretty well done. I like to always clean the edges where the cooking spray has oversprayed onto the edges, because if you don't do that and you leave it there while it's baking, it gets brown and gummy and it's really hard to remove. So you have to scrub so hard to get that stuff off. So just prevent having to do that by wiping down your edges first. So this will just go into a 350 oven. You're gonna bake it for about 30 minutes with foil over it. Then take off the foil and bake it for another 15 or so. What you want to see is you want it to be golden brown. Like you can see that this one is nice and golden brown compared to this one. It all got hot and bubbly and delicious in the oven. And if you see a lot of liquid still around the edges, like a lot, then it probably needs to go 5 more minutes or so, and then you can just take it out. I always let a casserole sit for 5 minutes or 10 minutes before serving it. First of all, kids and hungry people in general will jump in there and start eating and burn their mouth. But so I always kind of let it sit. And also while it sits, it firms up a little bit. And as you serve it, it comes out as an easier scoop instead of falling, you know, all over the place. So let your casserole set up for 5 or 10 minutes before you dig in. And do that with your homemade pizza as well. Just since it was on my mind, when you take your pizza out of the oven, and I make homemade pizza at home on the weekend sometimes, I let it sit for 10 minutes before I cut it. And that way everything doesn't slide off and get all gumpy looking and gross. So, so that's just a little free tip there. Yeah. But yeah, so there we go. That goes into the hot oven, and when it comes out, it looks like that. And Jeremy, I can't believe that I got all of those recipes done in 39 minutes, I believe. Yeah. And that's maybe a record for me.
I think so. I mean, and you fed like the whole family breakfast, a snack, and like good food, a dinner as well, for a lot of people in 39 minutes. That is not
in 39 minutes.
Like
that is what I love.
You got the entire week done in 39 minutes.
Right, exactly. Yeah, if you're in a restaurant waiting for food, you'll be there that long. My goodness. So might as well cozy up in your PJs at home and you know, have something yummy, and then hang out with your family or friends or whoever at home and relax.
That's what I love. I'm a meal prepper, right? I make everything on Sunday and eat all week long, and like you did all of that, and you made a lot of food just now and did all of it in less than 45 minutes. And so you can eat the entire week on that alone, breakfast and snacks and dinner as well. That's pretty cool stuff right there.
Yes, I am happy to do that. And would you like me to bring you a plate like we traditionally do?
That would be
okay, so I'm gonna bring you a nice plate with a little bit of everything to try, Jeremy.
Okay, I can't wait.
And so I'll be there in the newsroom in just